everyone, it's Lisa from I Dream in Soap. Welcome to my channel and thanks for dropping by. It's spooky soap time. So today we're making a Halloween themed soap and this is going to be available in the shop on the October the 3rd shop update. So if you want a bar, make sure you pop over then. So as you can see, I've got a whole host of embed moulds here. So this long one is going to be a cauldron. And then these short ones are going to be witches. Now they're going to be fairly simple to pour, although the witch specifically, which is why I've done it in very short chunks, is quite a complex embed mould. But they're going to be simple to pour because I'm just going to do them all completely black. Right, so let's get on with that. So I've got all the oils that I need to completely fill those moulds, and because I'm doing black, I've just popped my activated charcoal straight into my oils there, and we're going to give that a good old mix up. Okay, so let's bring in our lye solution. My lye is at 86 degrees Fahrenheit. And then let's just pop in our fragrance oil all in one go for what we need for all these embeds. Now the fragrance oil today is Dragon's Blood from Nature's Garden. This is a lovely fragrance oil. It moves your batter on a little bit, not madly. It's not anything you need to worry too much about, but it does discolour. Now obviously me putting it into charcoal colour, into this black, isn't going to be a problem at all. Now I want to pour this, especially for my witches, at a very thin trace because they've got all nooks and crannies in those moulds. So I'm just going to keep mixing this. It's only at emulsion at the moment, but as soon as I get the slightest trace coming, then I'm going to pour it. I wouldn't ever pour a soap just at emulsion. It would be okay then, but you risk lots of soda ash. And also for me, I just like the comfort of once I've actually got an actual trace, I know it's definitely not ever going to split apart again. In theory, it shouldn't split at emulsion, but there's no need to pour it that thin. Okay, so I've just got to the thinnest of trace, but I definitely have got a trace there. And let's pour into these moulds. Now I've got these staggered like this just because my cauldron mould is slightly floppy at the sides and I would normally just support that with some little bits of cardboard or a jar or something. And I've deliberately made these witch moulds so that they're very floppy one side because that's where I've got all lots of delicate things that need to unmould. So that's why I've just got them stacked like that, so they're supporting each other as much as possible. And then let's get these poured. Now I think I may need to revise my little shoring up plan here because you see the weight of the soap in these witch moulds is actually pressing on and compressing my cauldron a little bit too much. These two are good. Let's just take that out a bit and give that cauldron a little bit of space. And then I want to find something here to stop this one, because I don't want to have a fat old witch, do I? Okay, so I think that will do me for those. I'm just going to top that cauldron off a little bit, and then I'm going to pop them in the oven to make sure they go through gel, because for black we do really want that to go through gel. I've unmoulded all those embeds the next day, and I've just got my little cauldrons here, and what I want to do with them is I want to have sort of like whatever's cooking in the cauldron bubbling down the side of the cauldron. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to scrape out a sort of like a drip indent, and then that can be filled with some different coloured soap, and that will look like a drip running down the side of the cauldron. So there's my little drippy channels brought out. So what I'm going to do is I've got some soap just setting up to do some piping, because I'm going to sort of pipe some like cauldron-y contents, as it were, on top of those cauldrons. So I'm going to get it now before it's fully set so I can fill those channels. So it's got some nice day glow pink here. So I'm just hoping that that's thin enough to run all the way into that channel, but not so thin that it's just going to pour out. So I'm just going to let those set up now, and also let this is just going to be some piping, and I'm going to pipe some more stuff on top of here. So I've got this, I've got a neon yellow, and I've got some white as well to be sort of my hopefully bubbling cauldron contents, as it were. So my piping is now set up to where I want it to. So what I'm going to do is, I've only got one nozzle at the size I want. This is a Wilton 10. Okay, so it's a fairly big hole in it. So I'm going to sort of share it amongst my colours. And I only want a tiny weeny little bit of piping. So I've got my tiny weeny little piping bags. And I am literally just going to put the smallest amount in each, just so I can sort of keep swapping the colour and just get the little bit of piping that I want. So I've now just got a little bit of oil that I'm going to use in the base of my mould. I'm going to put all my fragrance oil for this whole section in there and mix it in, and then I'm just going to split off, because I'm just going to do a little in the pot swirl just for the base. So I've got some neon pink here. I get mine from Mike and Mama, but I think neons are pretty well the same wherever you go. And then this is some purple passion that I get from You Make It Up, but it's mixed with a little bit of titanium dioxide. And the reason I've done that is I don't want it too dark because my cauldron's dark and my witch is dark. And if I do the base really, really dark, I'm going to end up not being able to see those. Okay, so just get those mixed in. Now I think for me that pink is just a little bit too pink. So I'm going to put a little bit of the purple in there too. Now I know it looked like I just popped some purple in there, but I've already weighed out all the colourants that I use for this soap in accordance with my assessment. So me just pinching a bit from the other area of the soap's fine. There, I think I'm happier with that sort of dusky pink. Didn't want the soap to turn into a day glow soap or anything. So I'm just going to let that just wait to thicken up a little bit, and then we'll pour in the pot swirl. So let's grab my mould. There's a couple of little black marks in there. All those are from is where I've measured out the embeds and put them in the mould just to make sure that they fit. So it's nothing dirty as such in there. And I'm just going to simply take this and give myself a little layer just to sit the witch and the cauldron on. Now I do actually want my witch to sit a little higher than my cauldron. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop the cauldron in now, then let that set up a little bit and then pop the witch in. And I've pushed that right over now, so that's actually overlapped and coming over the top, which is kind of what I want because it's going to be the background colour. But what I was conscious of is I wanted the cauldron to be really close to the edge, and I was worried that I wouldn't get soap down there. So by doing it this way and squishing it, I've hopefully pushed all the soap up and over into the top. And I'll just leave that for a few minutes to stiffen a little bit, and then we'll get our witch in there. So I think we're nice and set up in there now, so I'm just going to grab all my little witches. I'm not really showing you the witches deliberately. You can see them when it's all cut. So I do want to push them in a little bit, but I want them to sit a little bit prouder over the cauldron. And I need to be careful to make sure that I'm leaving enough gap so I can get soap between the witch and the cauldron. There we are, witch is all in. So now I'm going to do the same as I did before. My jugs look a little bit dirty because I'm using exactly the same ones, because I'm doing exactly the same colours in exactly the same soap. So once again, get that oil and lye in. Now before I put my fragrance oil in here, I am just going to pour off a tiny amount into this little squeeze bottle with some neon yellow in, and this little squeeze bottle with some titanium dioxide in. And they're just really tiny amounts. Now the reason I've poured them off is because, as I said, this fragrance oil does discolour. A lot of the colours will overcome the discoloration of it. But I have found that if you put, let me try to clean this up. If you put neon yellow with the dragon's blood, and this is the dragon's blood from Nature's Garden, it makes it go some sort of weird neon-y pea green colour. And I haven't got neon pea green in my soap, so I'm just going to mix it in now without the fragrance oil. Now the discoloration of the fragrance oil may still creep into those areas because it's only a tiny bit that I'm doing, but we'll see. And then the rest of this I'm just going to divide off like I did before. Now I am going to pour a little bit off whilst it's really quite fluid, just because I want to be really conscious of getting in all those tiny weeny little gaps. So I'm just going to do a small pour first. Because there's sort of gaps between the fire and the witch. Not the fire, the cauldron and the witch. And at the back of the witch. Okay, so I'm pretty happy with that now. Okay, so I've left it for a couple of minutes and now I think we're ready to pour the rest of it. I'm going to just carry on doing little bits at a time, just so I sometimes find with an in the pot swirl you get big bits of one colour. So by doing it like this, hopefully I can stop that happening. I just want to make sure I've really got in underneath the witch. And what I'm going to do is I've extruded some soap dough, the same colours as the piping that I did. And I'm just going to pop these at the end of the witch's hand so it looks like she's sprinkling some ingredients into the cauldron. Okay, now what my plan is for these little bits that I saved is to make them sort of look like steam coming off the cauldron. So I'm just going to go in. And then I'm just going to just sort of gently swirl that bit. There we are. And then I've just dragged the excess batter that I'd sort of shoved behind the witch and just try to sort of get it over where I'd swirled that cauldron. I've got a little bit showing there, but I think that will be okay. Now I'm going to leave that to set up just a little bit before I put my embeds on the top. Here's our soap the next day, so let's get it cut, shall we? Okay, we should be there with that. Can nearly get it all on, just a couple missing off the end. And let's have a look at our witch. I can see one that's fallen off. And there we are. Oh, I really like that. I think that's quite good. My witch looks a little bit odd up in the air, but I needed her up a little bit taller so she was above the cauldron. I think they're going to be pretty well, they should be pretty well all the same all the way through. My cauldron's come up really well. I do like the little bubbly bits that's coming through. I can't see an awful lot of the steam. Maybe I should have squirted that in a little bit harder. You can sort of see it coming in at the top. But yes, I'm really pleased with those. Those have come out really nicely. And then I'll just leave you with one final photo of the soap. These soaps will be available in the October shop update, which is the 2nd of October. That's this Saturday at 6 p.m. UK time, along with some of the other autumn fall type soaps that you've already seen. I hope you enjoyed this video, everybody. If you have, it would be great if you gave me a thumbs up. If you'd like to see what I'm making in the future, then why not subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching, everyone. Happy soaping!